Hello everyone and welcome back to some more Warhammer Underworlds for the channel, and today the Gorechosen of Dromm are going up against the Horse Murder Ghosts, aka Drepur's Wraithcreepers. So murder on murder, although I guess one side is already dead, re-murder versus murder, skulls for the skull throne, all that good stuff. Let's go take a look at the specifics for both warbands and get things right underway. Here are the three models in Dromm's warband, led by the man himself, dead centre of the Gorechosen. The Gore Hulk is the largest over there, and then we have Skull Grinder Herrics. They generate rage. Is it called rage or is it called anger? I mean, it's blood tithe counter, sorry, my mistake. But for dealing damage or receiving damage, they get angrier and angrier, and their inspire condition is having 3 tokens. Yep, and they inspire and get much more dangerous. And Dromm and the Gore Hulk all start with 5 health, so they're already worth 2 glory right off the bat, which is one of their downsides, to be honest. I feel like they should get maybe 2 health on their flip side, but either way, that's neither here nor there. Herrick's only has 4 health, so he's not worth 2. He's the kind of softer of the two, but he has some special shenanigans he can do. And here we have the Horse Murder Ghosts, aka the Wraithcreepers, led by Viceroy Drepur himself. He just wants you to shake his hand. Nothing bad will happen, I assure you. We have the Patrician who's beating his drum. Then we have Sire Hackfell. I just call him Sir Hackfell. He's the one with the bird on his base right there. And then we have, what's his name, Grodrick the Lance, and all he's got going on is an especially long poking stick. The most pointed of them all, even compared to Hackfell. So they just want to get up close and murder. They inspire if they activate with an enemy within 2 hexes of them. And in general, they're one of the easier warbands to use. They're just very kill focused. And despite being an old warband as well, they usually carry themselves pretty well. And with that said, we'll get all the objective tokens down, get everyone set up, and then be back after this brief word from my channel sponsor. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. And just like that, we are back with deployment done. The Gore Hulk is at the top of the map, just outside No Man's Land. Then we have Skullgrinder Herrics, and then finally Dromm himself down here, roughly, well, just outside of the middle. And then on the other side, Drepur's hanging back a little bit. He is back here, next to, that is Grodrick the Lance. Then we have Hackfell here, and then right at the back is the Patrician, who will be moving them forwards 1 hex after every enemy activation. It will be the Wraithcreepers going first as we go into round 1 of 3, and with that, the Gorechosen get 1 rage counter to start the game, sorry, blood tithe counter, and yeah, we're ready to get started. Let's do it. And just like that, we are back. The Gore Hulk is right at the top of the map, outside of No Man's Land by 1 hex. Then we have Skullgrinder Herrics, and then finally Dromm down here, roughly in the middle. He's kind of off center by 1 hex, but either way, a little bit separated from his 2 teammates. On the other side, the Wraithcreepers, Drepur is a little bit further back than normal. He is back here next to, that is Grodrick the Lance, there we go, because Hackfell's down here with his bird on his base, that's how you know. And then the Patrician hiding at the back there to give out free 1 hex movements at the end of every enemy activation, although it will be them going first in round 1 of 3. All that remains is to flip over the objectives for you, the viewers. So back here we have objective 3 and 2, and then in No Man's Land we have objective 1, and then that obviously leaves 4 and 5 over here, like that. So there we have it. With that, let's jump into round 1 and see how this plays out. Well, you may notice not much has changed after the first Wraithcreeper activation of round 1, and yeah, literally nothing has. They opted to draw a new objective card and discard an objective card. Did they make use of a mulligan before the game started? Yes, they did, but they still felt the need to do that, so not a great start for them, essentially throwing away that activation to just draw a better objective card, but in the end that might pay off for them. And it was a relatively simple first activation for the Gorechosen of Dromm as well, with the Gore Hulk doing a move action, which just doesn't feel right. They're not hitting something. But he did a movement action and moved 2 hexes onto objective 1 in No Man's Land. In the power phase, a card was played by the Gorechosen, and none by the Wraithcreepers, but Skin of Brass. It's a prayer that Dromm does. Dromm's still on the map, so you can play it. Choose 1 friendly fighter, -1 damage to attack actions that target the chosen friendly fighter to a minimum of 1. It persists until the end of the round or until the chosen fighter is dealt damage. It is being used on the Gore Hulk, which is fitting because he's on the art of the card, so it's just going to sit Let's put that roughly up there to remind ourselves. So if he gets attacked, it's going to be -1 damage to him, down to a minimum of 1, but that's just to help him. Well, it was Viceroy Drepur himself who activated second for the Wraithcreepers, making use of the rule they all have called Intangible. Oh, and did also forget to mention, but after the Gorehulk's activation, the Patrician did not move any of them forwards. They actually kind of wanted to hang back. But thanks to the Intangible rule, that means that the Wraithcreepers can just pass through unmovable, unblockable, unmovable things, whatever they're called. Can't remember the term, but the white border meaning you can't normally pass through these hexes because they're huge structures. They can pass through them because they're ghosts. So he did that, and that meant his 3 hex movement from his starting hex over there, 1, 2, 3, through that one, let him do a charge action right into the Gorehulk's face. 2 dice needing hammers, he got 1 hammer. It was successfully blocked, but that doesn't matter, it still scores them some glory. So they're on the scoreboard at their second activation, thanks to Ethereal Hunters is the card for 1. Score was immediately after an activation in which a friendly fighter made a charge action in which they moved through 1 or more blocked and or occupied hexes. They passed through, that's what they call them, blocked hexes, not unmovable, either way. So he did, so that scores for 1 glory. Now you might notice there's an extra die there, and that is because in the power phase, the Stuff of Nightmares was played. Fun art on that one. Choose 1 enemy fighter within 2 hexes of a friendly fighter, roll 1 attack die. On the roll of a hammer, deal 1 damage. That would have gotten rid of Skin of Brass, by the way, because it just specifies the target taking damage. But he rolled a support, which isn't a hammer, so it doesn't do anything. Can't complain though, because they still got 1 glory out of an attack that failed, which is pretty good. Second up for the Gorechosen was Dromm himself, and he did a charge action, moving 2 hexes of his 3 maximum he can move to where you can see him. He's got range 2 on his basic attack with the Blood Blessed Axe and Staff, and that's 2 dice looking for hammers. He went into Viceroy Drepur, almost rolled identical to what the Viceroy rolled, in fact. 1 success. Drepur rolls 2 defense dice looking for dodges. He whiffed his defense roll, so that is 2 damage out of his 4 HP. Nothing played in the power phase by either side. However, we are going to have to pull back a little bit and come down here, because the Patrician's passive is going to be used now, and here we are, right down here. Sir Hackfell has been moved 1 hex forwards, which is technically the closest way to get to the enemy, which I believe is the stipulation. He could technically use Intangible to get through that, obviously, but he can't stop in that, so he can't go this way, so the closest route is that way. Well, once again, for the Wraithcreepers, it's very much a Luigi wins by doing nothing type strategy. It was Godric the Lance who activated. He did a charge action from where he started into I was going to say Dromm, that's not Dromm, that's the Gorehulk. 2 dice needing hammers. He didn't get any hammers, but he did get a single support, and he is being supported by by Drepur. I'll get their names right someday. And that was good enough to land the attack. However, a crit on the defense roll means it did no damage, but they still scored a glory off of that for Masked Blades for 1. Another surge card. Score was immediately after an activation in which a friendly fighter made an attack action with 1 or more supporting fighters. Drepur supported him, so didn't even need to do damage. That's just 1 more glory, so they're up by 2 now. In the power phase, Enervating Beat was used by the Patrician, which is just -1 damage from enemy fighters range 1, range 2 attack actions in the next activation, to a minimum of 1 to try and keep Drepur alive. Oh, a very thematic activation eventually happened after this for the Gorechosen. First though, the Gorehulk activated. Remember, he did not have a charge token, he just had a move token. So he swung his gigantic bloodied fist into Godric the Lance and missed. Was looking for hammers on 2 dice, got a single support and swords, so absolutely nothing there. But that doesn't matter because of what else happened in the power phase. First of all, Blood Boil was used. Choose a friendly fighter within 2 hexes of a friendly Dromm, deal 1 damage to them. So Drepur was dealt his 3rd point of damage via that card. But then Wound the Realm was also used. No cards played by the Wraithcreepers, so it came back around to the other side. So this is a prayer. Choose a friendly fighter within 1 hex of no man's territory and deal 1 damage to them. Or if you remove all Blood Tithe counters, at least 1, from Dromm, he's going to lose all 2 he had. Deal 1 damage to each fighter within 1 hex of no man's territory instead. He's doing that. So he loses the 2 he had. Let's just cover this. That means it deals 1 damage to Drepur, and that is enough that he is dead. So that's one glory for Drepur just being dead. The Gorehulk takes 1 damage, and that gives him a Blood Tithe counter. And Grodrick the Lance takes his first bit of damage as well, and Dromm takes 1 damage, so he also gets 1 Blood Tithe counter back for that. So let's just do that, add that. Why are they hurting themselves? Well, because it gets them angry. They're basically Sith. It makes them do better if they can get closer to their flipping over their card. If the Gorehulk had actually managed to do damage there, he would now be inspiring, but of course he had to mess it up by missing. Still, that is Drepur off the field, which is very nice. I can't remember if that scores a card. 1 second. Nope, the answer is not yet, and also that means Enervating Beat wasn't relevant because it was all 1 damages across the field. And I don't think it says it has to be an enemy that hits for Skin of Brass, so I do believe that this disappears. It does. So that's the downside. Skin of Brass is also gone now thanks to Wound the Realm, but it is going to be worth it in the long run, I think. At the end of all that happening, the Patrician's passive is kicking in again, so Sir Hackfell is moving 1 closer to Dromm, which we can just see. If we come down here, that would put him right there, 1 closer to him. And not exactly a bombastic final activation of the first round for the Wraithcreepers, with Sir Hackfell activating and doing a movement action from where he was, 3 hexes deep into enemy territory, and nothing else happening, with neither side playing any cards. And that's their round 1 done now. And unfortunately for the Gorechosen, they were denied what could have been a perfect end phase by Herrick's kind of messing up at the end there. He did a charge action. He is the fastest of the lot. He moves 4 hexes. So he did so down here to go after Sir Hackfell because he sees that something's up down here. 2 dice looking for hammers. Get used to me saying that. And he whiffed. Straight up. So unfortunately he has cost his warband. He didn't even need to kill Hackfell. He just needed to do damage. But he's cost him some points now, which is unfortunate. On that note, let's go to the end phase. And so in the end phase, the Wraithcreepers are scoring nothing, so they're still sitting on the 2 they earned throughout the turn. But the Gorechosen of Dromm are scoring 2 of their cards, starting with Blood Claim for a single glory. Right here, hopefully it will come into focus. I believe it is now. Score this in end phase if 1 or more friendly fighters each hold an objective within 1 hex of no one's territory. The Gorehulk is doing exactly that. And then the Blood God's Due is also scoring for 1 right here. Score this in the end phase if 3 or more fighters each have 1 or more wound counters and or Blood Tithe counters. Well, 3 of them have Blood Tithe counters, 2 out of the 3 of the Gorechosen have wounds, and 1 alive and 1 dead on the other side also have them. So yes, that has scored, meaning they go up to 3, thanks to also getting their kill on the Viceroy. So, as we go into round 2 of 3, they're ahead, but only by 1. And as we begin round 2, here is the board state, and it is the Gorechosen who will be going first this round with a priority roll that had 4 crits in it, so they've used up their luck for the game. It was a simple start. The Gorehulk has activated first. He just punched Grodrick the Lance as hard as he possibly could, getting a crit on the 2 dice he required hammers on, and Grodrick would have needed to get a crit to survive that. That's 2 damage with the 1 he took from wounding the world or whatever it was called. That's enough that he's dead. So he is out of there for 1 glory. Speaking of glory, 2 of it is being spent on buffing up the Gorehulk some more since he's earned it. He's been given Powerful Hatred for 1 of those glory he's been scoring. This fighter is considered to be supporting fighters for friendly attack actions made within X hexes, where X is the number of Blood Tithe counters. He has 3, and on that note, as he finishes his activation, he is inspiring. He's also being given Crazed Rampager, not just because he's on the art for it. He gets +2 move when he's making a charge. So when he charges, he can move 6 hexes, which is pretty good. At the end of that activation, with no power cards being played by the Wraithcreepers, they are using the Patrician's passive, and it is the Patrician himself who is using it, since it seems like he can use it on himself. It just says pick a friendly unit, and he is a friendly unit, so he's doing that because he's needed now that 2 of them are dead. For the 2 surviving horse murder ghosts, it was Sir Hackfell who activated, doing a charge action to attempt to stab Herrick's in the back there. Well, you can go through him actually because of intangible, but either way, he rolled 2 dice looking for hammers and whiffed, and so the reaction methodical attacks was played, which essentially just lets him have another go at it because he failed miserably, and this time he succeeded with a hammer. Unfortunately, Herrick's managed to fully block it, so the reason he's been pushed back is because of Horrifying Shriek being played in the actual power phase, And this is choose one enemy fighter within 3 hexes of one or more friendly fighters, and you push the fighter 1 hex. So just knocked him away a little bit. He can spend a blood tithe counter to get range 2 on his attacks, but if he wants to ever inspire, obviously he's not wanting to spend them. So now we'd have to do a charge action to get back into range, but he might not activate. We'll see. There didn't seem like a better option, so Herix did indeed activate, did a charge action to get back that 1 hex of movement, rolled, and once again disappointed Khorne, the greater audience himself, his mother, probably some other family members if they hear about this on social media or whatever, but he was looking for hammers and he rolled swords, so 0 damage and no cards being played by either side. However, the patrician is taking advantage of his own power again, so he has moved 1 hex closer to the closest threat, which would be Dromm himself, and that's where he's ended up. Oh, just before we go on, totally forgot that when Sir Hackfell activated, he was within 2 of Herix originally, so he would have inspired. Now, it doesn't really make a difference to the miss, obviously, but on his inspired side, his basic attacks have cleave, and I don't think it was a crit that Herix rolled for his actual defense roll. I'm pretty sure it was a cleave, which a shield, sorry, which cleave counters. So that second attack actually did get through. So everything else has happened as is, but Herix did take damage from that. So he's got 2 blood tithe counters now, and 2 of his 4 health is gone. So, anyway, second activation for the Wraithcreepers was the Patrician making use of his intangible roll to go through the blocked hex and charging right into Dromm, because why not just go for it. Normally, rolling 3 hammers, well, that'd be a fantastic roll with how many attacks we've been doing this match that need hammers. In fact, literally every single one has, except the Patricians. He needs swords. He would only do 1 damage also, he's not exactly meant for combat. But point being is, normally it would be an amazing roll, especially because he gets to roll 3 dice, but nope. That is a swing and a miss, which does not bode well for the horse murder ghosts, because they're not really doing their murder part. Oof, it is all going wrong for the Wraithcreepers. They're making the Gorechosen of Dromm actually look competent and effective. Dromm himself activated, swung into the Patrician, 2 dice looking for hammers, got 1 success, 2 defense dice for the Patrician looking for dodges, and he rolled 2 double supports, which is honestly rare. I think there's only 1 of those on that die, so it's 2 1 in 6 chances. But not what you want to see. So that is 2 of his 4 health gone, and that is drawn back up to 2 blood tithe counters now. Oh, there you go. It only takes about 4 attacks for something effective to happen for the Wraithcreepers today. Both of them have charge tokens, so either of them could activate. Hackfell did, the inspired Hackfell. He swung, got 1 success, and because of having cleave on his inspired side, that successful defense from Herix is not good enough. That's 2 more damage, so that means he is gone just before he would have inspired as well. So they scored a glory for that, meaning they're up to 3. So now they're only behind by 1, although obviously they're not in a great position on the board. But hey, they brought it back a little bit. Well, inserted sad drum beat here. The final activation of round 2 for the Gorechosen was the Gore Hulk. He did a charge action off of objective 1. He doesn't care about that. Right into the Patrician, rolling 3 dice on his inspired side, looking for hammers. He got 2 hammers and a crit. So that was, that would be his choking hold, which only does 1 damage. Never mind, he actually needed swords for a crushing grip. Oh no. Well, the crit still goes through though, so that's fine. Yeah, still does the 3. 2 dice needing dodge for the Patrician. If he got the crit, then yeah, okay, it's still fine. Although I was reading the wrong profile, because he wanted to do the actual damage, because he needed to do at least 2. So he needed to do crushing grip, because that does 3 damage on his inspired side. So yeah, sorry, the hammers are not successes, ignore me, but either way, because he didn't roll a crit on his defense, the Patrician is dead, so that gives them their 5th glory. Poor little Hackfell is the last murder ghost horse thing standing, and for their final activation for round 2, it was draw an objective card, discard an objective card. They cycled their hand to try and get something to score, and with that, we're going into the second end phase, with it looking pretty good for the Gorechosen. Well, this is actually a very busy end phase, and the Wraithcreepers are scoring. They're scoring 2 cards, so that's 2 more glory, taking them to 5. 1 for Deathly Blooms. Screw us in the end phase if your warband holds 1 or more objectives in enemy territory, which is exactly what Hackfell does. And the Hunt Pursues. Screw us in the end phase if each surviving friendly fighter is in enemy territory. So isn't it a good thing the Patrician died, I guess? So that is 2. Now for the Gorechosen though, wow, they are scoring their entire hand. One of which is a bit complicated. So let's start with the simple one, Hack and Slash. That is, screw us in the end phase if 2 or more successful attack actions were made during your activations in the previous phase. They were. I think 3 were. So then also Worshipped in Battle is scoring for 2, which is score this in the end phase if 2 or more surviving friendly fighters each have 1 or more blood tide counters and they're within 1 hex of no one's territory. Sorry for that not being in focus, but I did read it. And the Gore Hulk and Dromm himself, fitting because they're on the art, are exactly that. So that's 3. Then they're scoring 3 for Grim Satisfaction, bringing their total score for this end phase to 6. Score this in the end phase if 4 or more fighters each have 1 or more wound counters, which I think is true on its own because I think you count wound counters on people who've been killed, but either way the second part is true. 1 or more friendly fighters in no one's territory each have a total of 8 blood tide counters and or wound counters. 1 or more friendly fighters, so that must mean you can count them both together. Gore Hulk has 4 blood tide counters, 1 wound. Dromm has 1 wound, 2 blood tide counters, so that's 8. So no matter which way you cut it, that scores. They scored 6. That is ridiculous. They're going into the final round with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, playing 5. As we begin the third and final round, it is the Gorechosen of Dromm who once again have priority. Can they wipe the board clean of the horse murder ghosts? Let's see, and I think that's really all it's going to come down to because I don't think they're going to get caught score-wise. Dromm himself got things started in the final round, doing a charge action to go after Hackfell, choosing to attack at range 2 with that axe and staff of his. 3 dice, needing his hammers. He's inspired now at the end of his activation, so his card's already flipped. It does start as hammers, it becomes 1 extra die but needing swords, much like the Gore Hulk does once he flips, weirdly. So anyway, he got a crit though, and that means that the 2 successes Hackfell rolled are irrelevant, because none of them are a crit, so he takes 2 damage, and that means he's got 1 health left. So yeah, not looking great. Although finally with the power card redraw between rounds, they're finally, both sides have actually been struggling to get upgrades, but 3 upgrades now, so 3 glory spent in the power phase, nothing played by the Gorechosen, but 3 upgrades being given to Hackfell to try and help him survive. This is all of them right here. Pile of Fear is -1 die from range 1, range 2 attack actions that target him, which might help keep him alive, +1 movement, so he's base movement 5 now. And Bitter Strength is +1 damage at range 1, range 2 attack actions, so his base damage is now 3 with Cleave, which is pretty good. Oh, well, all of a sudden Dromm got in a little bit of bother. Hackfell did a charge for scoring card purposes to move 1 hex to the right. He attacked, rolled 2 crits for the attack roll. Dromm himself rolled a crit for his defense, but unfortunately 1 crit does not counter 2 crits, so the damage got through, and that's 3 damage. He already had 1 on him, self-inflicted. So he's 1 away from dying all of a sudden. He was driven back though because Hackfell is trying to live. In the act of landing a successful attack with Cleave, he successfully scored Piercing Blow, so he did actually earn some glory there. Just 1, but still. And then he played Unending Pursuit in the power phase. Choose 1 friendly fighter, push that fighter 1 hex, and he is opting to go backwards. And that is to try and keep him out of the Gore Hulk's threat radius. He's currently, he moves 6 on a charge, but 4 normally. 6 will be enough to get there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So he's going to have to hope that the attack roll isn't that good. Yeah, it missed, unfortunately. The Gore Hulk only needed to do 1 damage, so he went for the safer bet, which is Crushing Grip. It's looking for hammers on 3 dice, although ironically he rolled swords. But the crit was only success. Hackfell though rolled a crit on his defense roll, so that counters that. So no damage done there at all. Now there is a contingency plan in the form of Hulk Smash. Overhead Smash. So this is a preparatory attack. Play this only in a power step following your activation, which is now. You cannot play this in the last power step of the round, it isn't. Choose a fighter adjacent to the Gore Hulk. At the start of your next activation, deal 2 damage to them. Basically it's forcing Hackfell to run, otherwise guaranteed damage, which is enough to kill him. Well, what choice did Hackfell have but to run away his 5 hexes because of, Memories of the Hunt? Correction, going forwards though, when Dromm lived from Hackfell smacking him, they actually scored Untouchable Fury, so it's retroactively applying now because that hasn't changed. It is Surge, score this immediately after a friendly fighter is dealt damage by an enemy attack action if he wasn't taken out of action, so it was met. Hasn't changed anything else, so that did score. And speaking of scoring cards, now all the fighters that remain on the table, if we just pull back a little bit here, they are all separated, they all have charge tokens, so they can't move and attack. They have range 2 at best. Hackfell is not wanting to die, and the other 2, well, they'd move after him, but he'd just move away. The Gore Hulk is only 6 movement on a charge, he's 4 normally, so he can outpace either of them for the last 2 activations they have.
and he doesn't want to die, so he is just going to do that, which means we can really just go to the final end phase now, because there's nothing any of them can do to score anything out of a potential score in the end phase. So with that, we are just going to jump into there and see if anything else applies, because as I said earlier, it does really just come down to the Gorechosen are too far ahead. Also, as you might be able to hear, there's a lot of buzzsawing outside all of a sudden, so we're going to have to wrap this video up. So in the final end phase, there is technically one thing the Gorechosen could have done if they'd used their next activation for Dromm, to simply move and just do that, which we're going to make happen because the Hackfell can't stop him. They would score Consecrated in Blood for 2, and that is scoreless in the end phase if no enemy fighters hold objectives. I mean, I guess technically Hackfell could have walked onto an objective, but that would mean he would have to know this was going to score. And one or more friendly fighters each hold an objective that is within 1 hex of no one's territory. Hackfell is scoring Inevitable Advance. Neither of these scores affect the overall result, so that's why we're just doing them. Scoreless in the end phase if each surviving friendly fighter has 1 or more move and or charge tokens. Simple as that. That takes the final score to an absolute trumping, just the absolute destruction of the Wraithcreepers. Wraithcreepers have 2, 4, 6, 7. The Gorechosen probably the best they've ever done, because normally they don't really perform that well, honestly. But they have scored 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, literally double the score of the Wraithcreepers, and have taken the win. They don't need that Herix guy. Who's he? No one cares. Best friends forever, Gorehulk and Dromm, leading the way for Khorne and the Gorechosen in general. So as I say, there's a lot of buzzsawing in the background, so we're just going to be quite abrupt here at the end of the video. But thank you very much for watching. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. Please do remember to show your support for Warhammer Underworlds if you want to see more in the future. And if you want to support the channel in general, if you're able to spare it, please do consider becoming a channel member. You do get early access to certain videos about a week early in most cases. Or you can press the thanks button, or check out the channel sponsor and pick up something for yourself. If you're in America, they do stock Underworlds and other 40k stuff. And if you buy anything from that affiliate link, I get compensated. Thank you for watching either way though. Enjoy the rest of your day, and see you next time. Ta-ta for now.